Continuing on with Halachot of Lashon Hara, very, very quickly, we're in the, one may not speak Lashon Hara about, listing off different categories, and we're in the middle of Talmidei Chachamim. The author continues and explains, based on the Chafetz Chaim, Rechilut about a Talmid Chacham is also forbidden, and is worse than regular Rechilut for the following reasons. So first we said, Lashon Hara about a Talmid Chacham is very bad. We discussed that very, very in detail yesterday. Now, the Chafetz Chaim spends more time explaining that Rechilut about a Talmid Chacham is even worse than Rechilut about a regular person in the community. He explains why. Number one, Rechilut that includes falsehood is more serious than Rechilut that is true. That's a given we know about anyone. If Rechilut is a lie, it's more severe. It's Mosi Shemra. It's more severe than true Rechilut. One reports that a Talmid Chacham acted or spoke wrongly about another may very well be mistaken in his assessment of the situation, since we assume the Talmid Chacham likely knows what is permitted better than the speaker. Therefore, the Rechilut itself is worse than if said regarding an average individual, since it's probably not accurate as well. That's reason number one. Number two, the Chafetz Chaim says, the Torah commands us to honor and respect Talmidei Chachamim in every way. Creating a friction between him and others by telling them what he said or did against them has the opposite effect. There's a mitzvah to bring shalom amongst all of the people, especially with Talmidei Chachamim, not to cause friction. And number three, the outcome of Rechilut will generally be more severe. For example, if one is told that an average person spoke negatively about him, it may not arouse that much embarrassment or resentment in his heart. However, if he hears that a Rav or Talmid Chacham spoke negatively about him, it will cause him much pain and reaction will be much stronger. If the Rav of the city who is supposedly attacked him, the recipient of the news might go on a campaign against the rabbi, which will eventually affect his parnasah and livelihood. These are all what the Chafetz Chaim writes, why it's even more severe by Talmid Chacham. And then the fifth category, and wrap up with this for today, is a deceased person, someone who is passed away, someone who is no longer with us. The Chafetz Chaim writes, it is absolutely forbidden to denigrate and speak negatively about deceased individuals. There is a cherem kadmonim, a ban from the early authorities upon this, indicating that it is a very severe transgression. So first of all, he says that it applies also to people who have passed away. We have to be very, very mindful of this. Unfortunately, too often when people pass away is when people start talking and they remind themselves of the good and the bad. Just because a person's dead doesn't mean Lashon Hara doesn't apply. In fact, it still applies, and there's a cherem kadmonim, and very early on cherem that prohibits us from speaking such thing. This applies even to deceased ama'ars, even to someone who is an ignoramus. However, it would seem that if there would be about a rasha who did not repent for his death, that's a discussion for later. To grade a Torah scholar after passing much greater offense, and one is liable for punishment of nidui for doing so. Criticizing his Torah writings in a destructive manner is even worse than attacking the individual himself. So he explains that even when someone passes away, the halachot of Lashon Hara apply, and we have to be very, very mindful of those individuals even after their death. We have to be careful what comes out of our mouth when they're alive or dead. Have a wonderful day and Chodesh Tov.